Viewers, in the next part, let's speak about Pakistan. Much of the world is reconciled to the fact that the national election in Pakistan was a selection. Even elements in the Pakistani press have conceded as much after watching the masterful orchestration of the political process by only hand that guides Pakistan, the military headquartered in Rawalpindi. Such has been the sleight of hand that Nawaz Sharif of the PML-N party that is named after him, a former Prime Minister convicted for corruption and literally forced into exile, is back in the saddle while his predecessor, the charismatic Imran Khan, cricketer turned politician turned spiritualist turned India hater, is now in jail, convicted of corruption. Sharif's rehabilitation has been made possible because of behind-the-scenes moves that have led the courts to overturn his conviction, paving the way for his political but not yet moral rehabilitation. Expedient machinations are par for the course in Pakistan politics, where returning from enforced or self-enforced exile is almost a rite of passage in securing the prime ministership. But then, to be sure, viewers, Pakistan has never really pretended to be anything more than a guided democracy. Now, viewers, the Indian diplomatic establishment on Raisina Hill will be watching carefully, because Nawaz Sharif has proven to be a tricky customer in power. Both Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Narendra Modi realized this, much to their consternation, when they gave him the benefit of doubt and offered to engage him and the Pakistan deep state. Nawaz infamously returned the favor by launching a withering proxy war in 1999 and a blistering cross-border raid in 2016. There's enough evidence publicly proffered by third parties, not India, viewers, by third parties, even like the United States, confirming Nawaz's role in anti-India subterfuge. Viewers, it's on your screens. I'm not going to go into the granular data, but we know really, viewers, who was in power, what was larger plot at play that led to those big betrayals, Uri and Kargil. In fact, the United States confronted Sharif on the 2016 Uri attack, as well as Kargil. The US ambassador to Pakistan met Sharif after the incident in September 2016, which resulted in the death of 19 Indian soldiers and which was attributed to Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed, and handed over a file containing information of the ISI's complicity in planning the Uri attack. So compelling was the evidence, it fueled Sharif's resolve to confront the Pakistani army and put it in motion. A series of events that led to the PML-Nawaz party chief's ouster from his position in 2017 and forced him to go into self-exile in 2018. By bringing Nawaz back, the army, of course, risked the prospect of India withdrawing further back into its shell. Expect only a muted response from the Indian government as it tracks Nawaz and the Pak army's moves in the near term. What's the message? What's the message behind selecting Nawaz for the top job? Let's open this up. Brahma Chileni, Strategic Affairs expert, Kamal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary, and G. Parthasarathi, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan, is here with us. Mr. Sibal, first to you. Nawaz Sharif back in the saddle. How should India view this? What's the message coming from the Pakistani deep state, so to speak?
I think there's an internal battle in Pakistan. It is less connected to India than to what is happening on the ground in Pakistan, because Imran Khan challenged the Pakistan army boldly and recklessly to some extent, and he has paid the price for it. Now, he's very popular on the ground, that is quite sure. His party is very popular, his supporters are there. But the army, especially General Asim Munir, cannot allow him to become Prime Minister of Pakistan again. So what do? They have to have an alternative. The alternative, obviously, is Nawaz Sharif. It's not Bilawal Bhutto, because his remit is limited essentially to Sindh. And the power base in Pakistan, both military and civil and political, is in the Punjab. So to that extent, they have cleared the way for him to come back, as you pointed out in your summary. Now the point is that unlike Imran Khan, who took India head on and very provocatively attacked us on the on the podium of the United Nations. And then after the Article 370 was revised, he effectively closed the door to any dialogue with India, laying the condition that nothing can move with India unless India revokes Article 370, which is a ridiculous position to take because this is not going to happen and they know it's not going to happen. Plus, of course, his base is apart from some youngsters and youth who want who are against corruption and are against the established leaders who keep going through revolving doors and wants the military to reduce its intervention in political governance. He has a strong support amongst the Islamic radicals in Pakistan.
Yes.
Which is again a problem for us. So in the case of Nawaz Sharif, everything about him is less confrontational. People say, look, he's a businessman and he understands the importance of doing business with India. He actually in the past, as you well know, gave signals to us that one thing he will do when he returns to power in Pakistan, as he did last time, that he will begin trade with India. But nothing of the kind happened. And with regard to all the incidents you mentioned about Uri, Kargil, and everything else, to what extent he was absolutely privy to this, to what extent it was the armed forces that did this, he may have had some idea that they were planning and he was in no position to stand in their way. But I can't say whether he was the main culprit. I would still like to believe that it's the armed forces who have total control over the India policy and nuclear policy and everything else. Now that if he is back in power, he won't have much leeway. Firstly, it is quite clear that his political base is weak. The manner in which these elections have been held and the hanky-panky that has been done in all sorts of ways means that the perception would be that it is a selection. He has been put there, even more than what was analyzed earlier, because on the ground, the PTI seems to have had a wellspring of support. So he'll be politically weak. And the challenge to the army, Imran Khan has been sidelined, will not be there. So they'll be able to manipulate him.
Okay.
So to an extent, he will have maneuverability vis-a-vis India. Personally, I feel I'm very doubtful that he will have.
Okay.
And then finally, I'll end with this.
Yeah.
That situation in Pakistan is such that he cannot make any serious compromise with India without a serious backlash within the country. The overhaul of Pakistan,
Okay.
that approach to India, to South Asia, to the Indian subcontinent, to Afghanistan, domestically in terms of these Islamists and terrorism, it's a tall order. It's a tall order. I don't think Nawaz Sharif is.
Let me bring in Mr. Chileni. The Indian establishment looking very closely. What do you recommend should be the Indian approach here? Because everyone seems to agree that Nawaz is perhaps more moderate.
Well, there are two things that stand out, Rahul. First is that this election will not produce political stability in Pakistan. That's the reason why the Pakistani stocks today fell very sharply. The stock analysts were expecting the election to result in a politically stable government. What the election has done is to create a messy outcome, despite the rigging, despite the military, seeking to push Nawaz Sharif across the winning line. So we will have political instability. Pakistan will continue to sink deeper in an economic hole. And India can only watch, let Pakistan stew in its own soup. But I think the bigger issue is this, which is that the military in Pakistan is in complete control. These guys are their puppets. These politicians are puppets of the military. You've seen how the courts are so pliable in Pakistan. There are no institutions or individuals in Pakistan willing to stand up to the military. And to make things worse is that Pakistan's military, intelligence, and nuclear establishments have never been answerable to any civilian-led government. And the Pakistani army chief acts as the country's effective ruler. Now, that's the reality that India will have to deal with. Then this other factor, which often we ignore, which is America's long-standing cozy ties with Pakistan's domineering military. And we saw how in December, when the Pakistani Army chief went to Washington, he was hosted at the Pentagon by Defense Secretary Austin. The Secretary of State, Blinken, invited him to his office for discussions. Now, this has implications for India because by implicitly endorsing the Pakistani military's vice-like grip on Pakistan's politics, the US, in a way, limits political space for any civilian government in Pakistan to pursue rapprochement with India.
Right.
So that is the problem. We have these twofold problem. The first, the military's vice-like grip on everything in Pakistan, and second, America's ties with Pakistani military.
Very interesting. Viewers, we leave it at this. We've had a conversation. I don't think we still have Mr. Parthasarathy back with us. Can you hear me, Mr. Parthasarathy? Is that the real problem, that there is so much allowance being made for the military by the international community that... Hello?
I can hear you. Okay. I can hear you. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, very quickly. Is the problem
no,
right now?
I think the the military is a part of the problem.
Yes.
But Imran Khan, as I said earlier, was himself the problem.
Okay.
He's pathologically anti-Indian, whether it is cricket or politics.
But he's gone now.
And
so
he's like, we'll have to see if he comes back. Very frankly, he's not very popular within the military establishment.
Okay, I think we've lost you again. The signal is dipped. Terribly sorry. I think, Mr. Parthasarathy, the signal is a bit unstable, perhaps with the internet. But viewers, it's going to be interesting. We'll just have to wait and watch and see how the Pakistani establishment now reacts. Will they come forth, make overtures? And then, of course, India will have to look very critically at the nature of those overtures and the sincerity behind them. We leave it at this, viewers.